I'll go first. There he is. Jordan, if you'd like to take 5 to 6 minutes to share with us your philosophy on sales.
Sure.
What you focus your energy on in sales as well, and how it works for you.
Great. I'll just put this out there. This is totally not going to be popular. So just be prepared. Okay, I can stand up. Cool. So here's the thing. Cold calling, bad idea. Write that down, please. Cold calling, bad idea. Branding, bad idea. Pull marketing, bad idea. Hard closing, bad idea. Soft closing, bad idea if you don't have one thing, and that's a framework. And that's training. In sales, what most people are marketing these days, there's this quick thing to do this, there's this quick thing to do that. Try my 6-step system and you'll make $1 million. But in reality, if you're going to stick at this game for the long run, you've got to be doing it day in, day out, working the framework, training the process. My team, we role play twice a day. Once in the evening, once at night, because we get paid to sell. That's what we get to do. So tonight I'm not going to convince you about what's better. I use both. I actually use a lot of what Andrew's going to talk about.
And I've been watching your videos, just checking up on you.
Right? So I use it. I also use cold calling. I push, I shove, but I also back off and go, hey, you can't have it. Okay. But the one thing that people aren't talking about is you need to train in sales like you'd go to the gym, like you're LeBron James, like you're Michael Jordan. Who's running a business here? You should be training every day. Every day. Not one day should go by where you're not training on the phone, because that's how you're going to pull money in. True, right? Someone once asked me, they go, Jordan, if you woke up at 1 AM, could you roll your pitch off? I go, yeah, of course. They go, how's that possible? I go, because man, I'm having dreams of closing deals, because I'm doing it so much. I'm role-playing all the time, every freaking scenario. Ask my assistant, drive her nuts. She goes, when do you not roll? I go, I'm preparing. I'm preparing. So tonight, all I want you to remember, process and training. Process and training, process and training. Year on year on year, day on day on day, and you'll be successful. I haven't got any secret. Everything works, but the successful people, the 2% that apply what I'm going to say, will win in the long run. That's my pitch.
Nice. Nice and short. All right. Beautiful.
So, thank you. So I do agree that you do need to train. You know, Jordan and I actually share a lot of philosophies, even though our activities are different. So I'm going to talk more about my philosophies now, and then we'll get into the sort of activities, because, you know, what I'm here to learn from Jordan is what works in his framework that I can apply to my framework, and he's probably doing the same, right? So my process is called e-traction. So I coined that term to mean digital attraction. And the reason why I do the style of marketing and sales that I do is because way back when I started selling, my grandfather pushed me out in a car out to sell, you know, stationery, office products, pens and rulers and bits of paper to people who, in an undifferentiated market, the same price for the same product with the same conditions, and so why would they buy from me? And he said, go and cold call, you know, 20 times a day. And I did 2, and I went, I'm never going to do that again. I was 21, I looked about 12, I couldn't talk to people, you know, I wasn't a presenter, I didn't know anything about anything, and I'm going up to 40-year-old people and trying to sell them stuff, and I just had no idea. So I gave up. But funnily enough, I was the most successful salesperson they'd had. I grew my territory so much I had to cut it in half and give it to a new sales rep, and it wasn't because I sold. Well, it wasn't the way I sold in terms of cold calling. And my grandfather was a master, so that worked for him. He did that and he smashed it. But it just didn't work for me, in my style, in my personality. You know, I'm fairly outgoing, but I don't like selling. I don't like feeling like I'm selling. And so the people who I attract to my business also don't like selling, because it's a feeling. It's that feeling of pushing, convincing someone that they want something that maybe they don't really want, right? And I believe that digital gives us an opportunity to put it out there and go, if you want this, come and see me. And you can do that through, you know, the digital bread trail back to you, but you still have to sell at the end of the day. There's got to be a conversion, a transaction, and what I find is a lot of people in, you know, clients of mine and people I work with, they can do the first bits, but they just sort of fall off at the last bits. And you know what? I mean, as John will say, if you're not getting the conversion, the first bits don't really count for anything. You'll be popular and you'll have followers, but you're not getting any money. And so this is why I wanted to run a sales event, because those last 2 bits are so important. So e-traction to me is a 4-step sales formula. I mean, it's a 12-step process, but the last 4 are the sales steps. And the way we do it is we actually do go out there and we cold approach. But we do it in a way that most people might feel a bit more comfortable, which is digitally rather than via a phone or via in person. So we just have a different philosophy. Now, it does take more time. It's actually slower. And it can be frustrating for some people. And it's actually not suitable for everybody. What? So, the philosophy you choose to take and the techniques you choose, it depends on the stage of business you're at. And that's what I want to get into a bit later is, you know, if you're just starting out, you know, you need a bit of that. If you don't have much time, you need a bit of that. However, if you've got, you know, if you haven't left your job and you're a corporate escapee, you've got time to build this brand and build this following and build some content in order to have some comfortableness with the first people you go through. Because really, sales should be being excited and enthusiastic about what you do, and people go, wow, that's amazing, how do I get involved? That's how we want it to be. But it doesn't always start like that. So hopefully through the night you'll get some tips and techniques of what's right for who and when, because everyone's slightly different in space in their businesses. And we're going to have time.
Nice, beautiful. You can have another minute if you like.
Ah, there you go. So, first piece of advice I give you is there's 3 stages of your business. You could call them year 1, 2, 3. The first stage is when you have a personal brand because you don't have anything else. You just start. When you just start, you might have a business name, you could have a website, you could have it registered, you could have a trademark, but it doesn't mean anything because you haven't done anything yet. You might have a product and you have a nice product name and a physical product, a digital product, an intellectual product, but it doesn't mean anything either because you've never sold it and delivered it. You don't have testimonials, you don't have client case studies, you don't have experience. So the only credibility you have is your brand. So we always start with your brand and we build your brand and sell you, not your product at the start. So my debate tonight will be is that if you're doing personal branding and you're starting out, it's got to be attraction. If you're doing product sales or company sales, then other forms of sales do work. But I don't believe they work for people. We'll see.
Nice. Beautiful. Thanks so much. Alright, so now we've heard from our 2 gentlemen to kick it off and heard their pitch and their philosophies on sales. Let's get into a bit of a speed round of sorts, where we're doing round 2, 3 and 4. And the gentlemen haven't heard these questions or these setups yet. These are completely on the fly, and they'll be answering them cold, in a sense, I guess. So, let's start off with our first one. Jordan, you're going to go first.
Yep.
What advice would you give to someone who said to you, salespeople are just in it for themselves and the commission. I don't want to do sales because I don't want to be one of those people.
Yep.
And people are judging me when I'm trying to sell to them.
I agree. 100%. Salespeople are in it for themselves, they're in it for the product, they're in it for the money, they're in it for the commission, and that's exactly why you need that kind of salesperson, because they know the most about the product, they role play, and at the end of the day, they're actually going to help that person who needs that product to solve the problem. So I completely agree with it. You should do it.
Keeping it short and sharp.
That's an objection I get. You're selling to me. Of course I am.
Yeah, sure thing.
You need a problem solved.
Yeah. Andrew, advice.
Same
for
way.
somebody. Yeah. So salespeople are just in it for themselves and the commission. I don't want to do sales because I don't want to be one of those people. It makes me feel icky, and people are judging me when I'm trying to sell to them.
Yeah, this icky thing comes up a lot is people don't want to sell because they don't feel like they're selling. My advice is that if you feel like you're selling, the person probably isn't buying. So the first thing I say to people is, go find someone who's got a problem. Because if they don't have a problem, they don't need a solution. And the solution isn't actually your product. Your product then is the bridge between the problem and the solution. So clients want an outcome. So it might be in this certain scenario, oh, I don't have enough clients, I want more clients because I want the revenue. But that's the problem and the solution. The process is your product. And it could be product A or product B. Both might get you there, but in different ways. So whenever I start talking to people, I'm like, how many of your target market clients have you talked to, and how well do you understand them and their products? Sorry, them and their problems? Because if you don't understand their problems, how are you going to craft the vision of the solution to seem appealing? Because you craft that solution based on the problem. And when we teach pitching, that's exactly what we pitch. We start with the problem, so they go, yeah, I've got that problem. And then we talk about the solution and go, oh, that'd be great. And then they want it about your product. And they ask you questions, and then you start, talking. But that's when you have to pivot to the sale. And there's always a pivot to a sale. When you start trying to get, or not trying to, you start encouraging them with things like prices, terms and conditions, details of the course, when it is, and so forth, to get to a point where they close. And one point about, I don't know if you can talk about closing, but I think we should tonight, is that the close is a very interesting part of the deal. It's where it's a bit nerve-wracking and so forth, but it's a really interesting psychology, and I want to sort of talk about that more. But yeah, so does that answer the question I have? Is that about 3 minutes?
Beautiful, beautiful. I like it. Please make sure you're writing down your questions as well, and any sort of objections that you've got, any hypotheticals that you've got, or current situations, and you get the opportunity to throw those out as well. All right, number 2. Let's kick off with you first, Andrew, with this one. So we've all heard sell the person, not the product, or sales is about building a relationship. Can you explain to us from your experience how you do this through online branding, and then Jordan through cold calling?
Yeah, great. So this is a really contentious topic. So I follow the Dent guys who do the key person verifications, and Glenn Carlson did a video saying rapport is bullshit. Don't worry about establishing rapport, sell the solution. Right, sell the solution. Remember the 3 stages of business: personal brand, business brand, product brand? That works when you've got a great product, through a reputable business, through some good people. But it doesn't work if you don't have those other 2 steps. So if you're a mature business, you can do that. You don't need to establish rapport. You can go and sell the service and the product because it's got tangible value. When you first start out, you don't have that. You have to sell yourself because you are the seller, the deliverer, the invoicer, the bottle washer and the cleaner, right? You're doing everything. And so you are it. And you don't have credibility to back you up. And for those who have left corporate and went, oh, I had a nice IBM banner or an Accenture banner behind me, when you don't have that, all of a sudden it's just me and my, my LinkedIn profile, it's my experience. So, I think that at the start, you have to sell yourself. And the way we do it is, and we know that the people who buy from you are people like you. So who do you sell? If you're looking for your target market, look in the mirror. Maybe you 3 years ago. But that's who you sell to because they like you and they'll trust you.
Nice one, beautiful. Thank you very much. Jordan, so we've heard sell the person, not the product. The sales is about building a relationship. Explain to us from your experience how you do this through your method, through cold calling.
So it's how I build relationships through cold calling.
Yes.
Or do you need to build relationships?
Well,
because you don't.
It's not popular. I'll give you the truth. Okay. So here's the thing. Last week I closed 2 deals. The people I called didn't answer my first 30 calls, but then they gave me 30 grand each.
Wow.
Right? So no, I'm not bragging. It's the reality. The week before, there was another person I'd followed up for months, didn't answer, told me get lost. I'm like, yeah, we're starting now. She gave me 30 grand. So the reality is this: the relationship starts through the process. The process is the relationship. So a lot of people think, Jordan, how do you build relationships? I don't. My process does. 1 call, 2 call, email, text. I am a pest. I'm a pest. Yeah. Like I make a call.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So do you feel like they need to like you to buy from you?
No. I'm convinced this guy this week, Vishal, not saying what he bought, but he bought off me. He would have hated me afterwards, guaranteed.
But he liked the product.
He loved it, but he would have hated me afterwards because he was in the UK. He is in the UK. We got him signed up, then he was having difficulties with the contract, and I pulled at least 3 very questionable things to get him over the line. So I pretty much took it away and said, I'm going to rip it up if you don't get it back to me, and he did it. He didn't like me then. He goes, I just really need this, Jordan. All right, I'll sign it, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Then today he messaged me and he said, I'm actually really enjoying this. Thank you for doing that. So here's my point. My process is very in your face, but it builds the relationship because I'm not trying to prove to people I'm worthwhile. I don't have to do a song and dance in front of people saying, pick me, pick me. It's like, no. I'm calling you. This is a privilege I'm calling you.
Yeah.
By the way, I think when people get a cold call from me, it's like the best thing ever. No, but I have to think that way because I make so many.
Yeah.
And the process, the follow-up, the method builds the relationship because then they go, you know, Jordan, I feel like you really understand me. You're not trying to sell me because all I'm doing is I'm just listening to them. Just listening throughout the process.
So you are building rapport.
I'm building rapport, but I'm not trying to. My process is. So I'll question them. Then they say, oh, it's too expensive, and I'll handle their objection. I'm not trying to sell me. I'm just taking them through my process. Same thing I did when I was, 16 and building my sports coaching business. I called the receptionist 3 times in a day, and I was 16. Okay, you guys, can you get your PE teacher on the phone? No, Jordan, no. After 2 weeks, they finally got him on the phone, and I got the school. And I built a business like that. I had a team of 5. So
listen to his podcast with me if you want this backstory. It's really interesting.
Yeah. So you need to put it in the process. Don't try and prove to people you're worth it. Make them prove to you they're worth it.
Is there a difference between product and service? Like
Yeah. So in product, you're going to be a bit more push.
Yeah.
Service, you've got to have a bit more of an on-flow. So it's a bit of a different sales skill. But
Okay, new question.
you've got a problem. Like these people have a problem, and you clearly have a solution. So flip it. You're the prize. They're the person that should be selling you, and saying, "Hey, this is why I need it. This is why I should work with you. This is, that's the mindset you've got to get in, and then a relationship starts." Okay.
Nice. Beautiful. Andrew, let's throw it over to you for this last one. If I need a sales strategy from scratch, and I heard that yours works well, from your experience and expertise, where should I focus my energy, and how do I get started?
So the first thing I'd say is, say you didn't have a brand, because we build brands online and share content, and that's how we do our process. If you said, I need some sales in a month, I need to make some money in a month, I'd go, great. Who's your target market? And if you don't know, that's the first thing. If you don't know who you're selling to, you're toast. You need to know then where they hang out. So, okay, I'm dealing with 40-year-old executives who need coaching. Great. Tell me a bit more about their psychographics and so forth, where they hang out. They do these sort of activities. Great, I'm going to go and I'm going to talk to them. Because if you don't understand the target market, you can't sell a product. If you're not talking to your customer, how are you going to sell? So the first thing is to go and start talking to them. Now, that's just getting to know the market. That's not necessarily the selling process. So I wouldn't recommend trying to sell cold people. And not that it's bad, but it's slower than selling warm people, right? So where do you find warm people is you will know these people. I guarantee you that you will, in your community, go and know people. Carol Benton, who's one of my sort of avatars for the process we have, the first thing she did is went out and had coffees with all the people who she used to work with and said, oh, I'm starting this new business, I'm really excited, this is what I'm going to do, and do you know anyone who could use this? Not, would you like to buy it? It was like, do you know anyone? And some of them went, actually, we could use that, And she just talked, she had coffees and coffees and coffees and coffees. And so she got her first couple of deals from that. And then she started going out from that circle to another circle, and now she's, doing cold marketing and bringing people down a robust sales funnel. But the funnel takes time to set up, and Jordan's right, it takes work and effort to get people down that funnel all the time. When you first start, go to people who already like you and that would give you a hand if you ask them. You get your first couple of deals from that. That's how I started. I left my job suddenly, had an argument with the boss, said that's it. I had my business, but I had no clients because my clients were all in that business. And then went, I've got to earn a full-time income in 2 months. And so I just went out and I talked to a whole bunch of people that I knew, and this is what I'm doing now. And that picked up the first deals, and then it went from there, and then I started building the process. So, talk to people you know.
Yeah, beautiful. Good. I need a sales strategy to grow from scratch. I heard yours works well. From your experience and expertise, what should I do, and how do I get started?
So first off, kind of similar to what Andrew was saying, go into people that you know, offer your stuff once off for free, get the case study, then use that and cold call other people, ideally their competitors, or jokes aside it works, and say, hey, I just started working with your competitors, they got X amount of results, would you like to at least hear what we did? And that's a good way to start. So that works. That's how I built my first ever coaching business with kids, and it's how I actually built this agency. Everything was cold. So that's the first step. Now the second step is you have to believe in what you do. You don't have to love what you do. There's two differences. Who loves Coke here? Hands up. Coke? Coca-Cola?
Oh.
Coca-Cola?
I'm sorry, I put my hand down.
Who loves Coca-Cola here? Who loves pizza? Anyone pizza? Italians? Okay, great. Do you believe you should eat it every day? No. Okay. So here's the thing. I meet so many people, they go, yeah, Jordan, I love selling this. Great, do you believe in it? Yeah. No, you don't. You say yeah on the phone, your prospect's off. So what you have to do is you have to believe in the outcome of your service and product more than anything else. If you start there, it doesn't matter what process you got. I didn't have a process. I just knew that I was a great sports coach for kids, and I eventually ended up convincing so many people, and then Auntie will believe me. I still don't know how I won that award, but literally I believed in my outcome so much. And for a while there, like, I loved sports coaching, but I wanted to build my business more, and I actually fell out of love with it, but I still believed in it, and I could still sell it. So that would be my top thing. Start with your circle, get a case study, but then believe in your outcome. Like, a lot of people say, love what you do, love what you do. Yeah, that's great, man, but like, your prospects don't care if you love what you do. What they care about is, do you believe in the outcome? That's what builds trust, and that's what gets you over the line.
Can I just comment on that? Because I think that's really the point, is certainty sells.
Mm.
Your certainty needs to exceed their doubt if you sell something, which is a DeMartini thing I stole off him, so it's not mine, but leverage off him.
Yeah, cool. So we're starting to hear some pretty similar sort of messages from both of you, even though you've got different styles. Your focus when it comes to specific sort of specific objections or tough questions that are coming out there is all about the client. It's all about the other person. That's very cool. I like it. Hey, I'm going to throw in a little bit of a speed round for you, because there's a couple of topics that have come up a few times, and I'd like your short, sharp answers on it, and I think they'll be really handy. So I'll call it a gold nugget round. If you can throw out just a short, sharp answer, I'll throw to you. I'll throw to you. We'll look for a couple of, because there's been a few of them that have come out there that are surrounded by other sentences and other topics and stuff like that. Let's get them short and sharp this time. I've got 3 written down in particular. Let's go with you first, Jordan. Jump over to Andrew and then back and forth with these 3. So your advice, gold nugget, 1 sentence or nice, short and sharp on closing sales.
Push. That's all I'm going to say. Push.
Cool.
Push and close.
Ask for
Andrew,
it.
1 piece of advice on closing.
I kind of agree. Like, to make a decision, because you need to believe more than them that this is valuable for them. And if you've built the rapport and trust over time, they will trust you to make the decision. But if you don't push them to make the decision, and they make the decision, and they backtrack, they will not trust you anymore. Like, it actually hurts them to pull away. So you need to get over the line with them once they've gone down to that part. Because if you're closing, you know that it's the right product, right fit, it's good for them, all those sort of things. So it's important to give them a nudge. Agreed.
Yeah, cool, good. 1 piece of advice, 1 gold nugget. What is the most important part of a pitch?
Stretching the gap. Where they are, where the outcome is. Stretch the gap, go really, really far, and then show it to them.
What does that mean?
So here's your prospect, here's your outcome. They think in their mind, we're like this, It's like I speak to some business owners, they go, oh, Jordan, my marketing's not that bad. Yeah, how many leads do you get? I get 10, I go, it's kind of average. Some of my clients get like 100 a week. Whoop. They think they're there. Oh, right, okay. How much money do you want to make? I want to make about 20K a month. Oh, 10 leads. You think that's really going to get you there? Yeah, shit, I didn't think about it that way. Keep reminding them, because that's what creates tension. Tension closes. Remember that? Like that piece of advice there will make you a lot of money, get you a lot of clients. Stretch, create tension. Don't be nice. People don't buy off nice guys. Anytime I come across a nice guy, I get very nervous. Stretch, make them feel a bit uncomfortable. Because also what they're going to turn around and say to you is, yeah, you're right. I think this guy's weird. That's what they want.
Cool. Yeah. Nice one. I like it. Andrew, piece of advice, gold nugget. Most important part of a pitch.
I believe the most important is to start where you're teasing them. So the critical error I see most people do is someone goes, oh, so what do you do? And you go, oh, for 10 minutes, and they're like, oh, you know, it's just being polite. So you've got to tease them. You've got to let them come to you. Say something. Oh, that's interesting. Ask a question. Give them a little bit more. Give them a little bit more. So that they build their interest, which is actually fairly similar. Like you're asking good questions that they haven't thought about, which is a great way to buy their engagement. And they're like, oh, but well, how do you do it? Like you don't tell them, you let them ask, and then you tell them. Because that then builds the interest in you and what you're saying, rather than you're pushing the information out to them. So you're kind of attracting through a phone call in the same way, because you're teasing them with questions, rather than ring up and saying, here's why you should buy it, and it's a great product, and this is the price, and blah, 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 which is what most people do. So let them come to you.
Nice. Beautiful. Last one, and then we'll throw it out to a couple of questions and some of the stuff that we've been writing out in the audience. Short piece of advice or a gold nugget. Actually, we just throw out a quick question. When shouldn't I use cold calling?
Ooh. Never? It's phone strike?
Yeah, that's a great question. When should you never use cold calling? My brain's got to really think about this. I think you should always use cold calling, to be honest.
So me a couple of
I think you should always use it. Nobody can convince me otherwise, because it's just grown every business I've had. Okay, actually I can think of one scenario now. You're going to use another form of cold, but it still works. So if people don't know who you are from a bar of soap, sometimes cold emailing is a really good way for people to just see your offer on a screen and go, hang on, is this something I'm interested in? It's not pushy, and they can at least focus on it for a little bit, and then they can respond to you and go, yeah, I'm interested, and now you're in. Now you could possibly call them. If they don't know you from a bar of soap and you're starting out as the guy at your home office and what have you, cold email's pretty good. That's probably the only place I'd start. I always like to warm up a cold market with something like that. I don't just go untargeted with my cold calling. I always warm them up just a bit, and then I go in.
Nice, beautiful. Andrew, when shouldn't I use personal branding or online marketing?
I want his question.
I see what you did.
Yeah, I see what you did. When you're relying on it to sell for you.
Yeah.
So what the branding does is bring you opportunity, of which you have to convert through sales. So you've got to talk to somebody at the end of the day. Unless you're selling digital only products, which you sell digital only, my belief is that you sell in the format you deliver. If you're delivering something that you deliver one-on-one, you need to sell to them one-on-one. If you're selling $50 widgets on the internet where you sell it digitally, ClickFunnels. And what I see is people selling ClickFunnels, people, and coaching, and I go, I don't see how you can do that because they're buying you. It's very hard. So digital, the process we do with branding works great at the start, but then people get afraid to do calls at the end. So if you're hiding behind, I'll write that blog instead of make that call, you're not gonna make any revenue.
Nice, beautiful. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for the back and forth and conversation and good gold nuggets there as well. Yeah, I'd like to throw it out to you guys now. We've got about 5 or 10 minutes for some questions, some hypotheticals, some current situations that you're going through at the moment. Maybe something that you heard out there that you'd like the gentleman to elaborate on. Who'd like to go first? Who's got something written down? Go for it, mate.
Yeah, I was curious about the following up. Like you gave them like 30 calls before they actually picked up and gave you a listen. So I'm curious, like you have to use your EQ, do you? Like, what happens if they tell you to piss off, stop calling me, and then cold calls? Like, how do you handle that?
What do you think I'm going to say to that?
Keep going.
Keep going. Because it started. Whether they like it or not, I'm in their mind. It's the truth.
Sorry, you say it's started. What's it's?
The relationship. They hate me, it started. It started.
What's your mindset?
That's a very question. Well,
I just think this is why I say to people, I was called into sales, because I used to hate it. I used to hate calling people, but now I've learned to love it. My mindset is, this person has continued to pick up my call. They know my number to say no to me. Why? Just block my number. People do that, by the way. But they answer. Like a guy today, perfect example. I think he was a podiatrist or something. And I called him, and he goes, I'm here with a patient. That's exactly why I'm calling. No, I'm seriously here with a patient. Yeah, I'm only going to be 2 minutes. Okay. He's trying to kick me off. I know you're not interested, man. You haven't heard what I got to say yet. Right? And then I said, hey, look, you've reached out, you've done this and done that. I want to book this, and I can't give away my whole pitch because I'm revealing my client. And I said, you want to book it? He goes, I'm just feeling really rushed. I go, cool, man, we don't have to book it. It's really only for people who are really serious about their business. But hey, I'll tell you what, see a bit of tension, no, nice guy. I go, I'm going to text you my calendar. I'm booked out for the rest of the week, but if you want to book in, go for it. He goes, all right. Well, when do you say you're free? I go, I don't know. You'll have to check, but I've got to go now because I've got another meeting to get to. But check my calendar. So he tried to get me off at the start so much, and then what did he do? He booked in for 2 weeks' time. So your question was, what's my mindset? If they pick up your call and they know your number, there's a reason. Don't buy what people say, buy what they do. If they're on the phone with you, it's an action, it's a behaviour. What they say, look, I just think what people say is BS, so yeah.
If they block your number, gone.
I text. And I email. Don't give me your address.
I like that one. Yes, mate.
Cold emailing, where do you get the emails from?
It's a great question. So a little bit of it is just with experience, what I've seen worked. I see what other people do to get leads. I've got some mates that are really good marketers, and I learn off them. So that part of it is marketing. It is, how do I write good copy? I'm not a great copywriter, but I do know templates that work. So you just got to test things. I find the shorter the email, the better. If you can keep it down to 9 words, super effective. Hey, this is really simple, by the way. Sometimes I just say, hey, first name, so-and-so from so-and-so. Are you still interested in growing your business? They go, yes. Great, tell me a bit about you. Then they tell me, and now we're in conversation. So you could do that the same with your business. Yeah.
Cool. Nice one. Beautiful. Definitely.
When do you give up?
Never give up. Never ever give up. Because here's the thing. What people don't tell you about sales is you're selling yourself when you're cold calling.
Well, what if they're really not interested in that?
Then I set a follow-up time for ages. So the thing is this, when I go into a sales call, even if I don't get the deal, I want to take out some learnings. I want to make sure I follow my process. I want to make sure I go, even when I don't really feel like selling, right? Because what that does, I know it sets up the next deal. So when you're making a lot of calls, like me and my team have to do, even if you don't close the first call of the day that you've booked in, if you end that in a sour note, you really haven't, you've missed the deal, but you haven't closed the appointment. Is this making sense, guys? You can still close an appointment but not make the sale. This is what people don't understand. So if people are going to say no to me, I would rather say no to them. Hey man, no, let's not do it. You've annoyed me or something, I don't know. Because then it keeps certainty, and then when I go into the next call, I'm fresh. So I don't give up. Never give up. Never, ever give up. I'm probably going to go to jail one day, but I don't give up.
So who does selling? Who actually sells professionally. Yeah.
Oh.
Or yeah. Should we get some feedback from them about what they do? Or?
Yeah, absolutely. We can do it. Should we? Let's keep going with the Q&A, and then let's get some
lots of questions.
feedback sort of as we go. Gentlemen?
What happens with your cold calling when you're a snowflake at a snowstorm?
When I'm a
What I
snowflake.
mean by that is that you're in an industry, you're selling a particular service product, whatever it is, and you're one of dozens of phone calls that target time, what possibly, gets per day, per week. How do you handle that situation?
I'm good. Everyone sucks at cold calling.
That's
I'm
great.
good.
But how do you handle it?
I train. So, for example, they're going to throw an objection, I'm not interested, and 90% of salespeople go, yeah, they're not interested. I know that's BS, so I follow up with something. If I know that there's another company that's got a really good sales process and they drop a reason to call that's, you know, we'll get your so-and-so up by 10%, I'll say, hey, I'll drop another outcome that could be, hey, we'll decrease the amount of this by this, that's totally different. And I'll give a different offer that probably hasn't been spoken about. So I get creative. It's also in how you engage them at the start. So a lot of people try and get an appointment straight away. Sometimes guys like, I know this is going to sound really silly. I call when we put a podcast out. Now, why would you do that? It's a podcast, it's free. They get used to saying yes to me. So I go, hey. They go, oh, what do you want? I go, we just launched our new podcast episode. It's on branding, right? Do you want me to send it? It could be. Do you want me to send it to your phone? Then they go, oh shit, you didn't try to sell me there. Yeah, sure. Great, done. See you later. Now I'm different. Is this making sense, guys? It starts the relationship. It starts the yes process.
Nice one. Jenna?
You both got your own ideas how to do things. What about morphing it? So you've got snail mail, you've got email, follow-up phone calls, the texting. Do they work if you combine all facets?
Yeah, so did anyone get a LinkedIn message from my account during this process? Yeah, so that's what we do. We choose LinkedIn for our market because our target market is professionals who are working with other professionals selling low volume, high value products. So what we're looking for is 10 to 20 clients, not thousands, right? And for those people, we find that LinkedIn's a good way to do the cold bit. And the reason is that not everyone's got Jordan's mindset and ethics, so as in work ethic. So most clients I have will not do this. And so therefore, unless you can afford to hire someone like Jordan, it's not going to get done. But I know that it's easier to send a message on LinkedIn. Therefore, we start with that process because it's the only medium where you can go out direct, and it's becoming busier, but it's still more effective than a cold email. I'd get 5 cold emails trying to send me stuff every single day, right? I just delete it. But a message on LinkedIn, I can't delete it. Well, I can, but I don't delete it. I might read it, but I'm still connected to the person. You know what I mean? I'm still going to see stuff. They could message me again. And so we find LinkedIn's the best medium to do it. The other thing that really works well is cold direct mail. Not a brochure. Send out your book to somebody or a high value piece of item. It's called high value direct mail. You send out something of value that they won't throw away. I've seen people send out chocolates and this and that as a gift, just to do some branding, just to get in front of people. That's when you're selling high end, works well. So they're 2 cold approaches that work. I don't know much else that does, like letterbox drops and those sorts of things. Real estate agent use them, you know, maybe in mass volume, because all I'm looking at is percentages. So cold calling about 1 in 100, you get 1 sale in 100, right? How long does it take to do 100 calls?
1 hour.
No way.
Yeah.
It's dials, calls, talking to people.
Talking, okay, all day.
All day, right? So my VA is right now sending out messages to people on my LinkedIn account because I don't have to be there, right? So that's just time efficiency for me. And they can send out 100 in 2 hours. So that's an efficient process. Now, it's still 1 in 100. Might be 1 in 200 who becomes interested and goes down my funnel, but it's time and cost efficient. And that's all I'm looking at. Because most people I deal with are busy. So, yeah. Or hi, Jordan. Yeah.
Oh, that kind of answers it all. Yeah, use it all. Use it all. No. I like it. Like, just use it all. Don't be like, use it all and then pick one that works. So, you know, with my agency, I don't advertise yet. We don't need to. I just hit everyone up over Messenger. So I look at who's advertising in my space, hit them up. Conversation starts. They see it. They don't respond. They go, great. And then it begins, and the relationship starts, and you know, one guy I hit up this week, I don't have space, but I've got a waiting list now. How you doing? And he's like, oh, so do you do like high ticket sales? First 3 messages he didn't respond to, so we use that, but then we've done advertising and cold emails, you know, everything.
Yeah, nice one, beautiful.
What are your criteria points for target audience?
Good question. I like that one.
That's a great question. You got to know the problem you're solving really, really well. Don't sell to broke people. Get this down. Please. I know you love them. I know you want to help them. But listen, it's not going to grow your business. You need to sell to qualified people, because here's what you're actually doing. If you want to help someone, but they don't have the money, but you really want to, you know, sell them something anyway, they still may pay you, but they're going to go broke in the process. So you need to sell to qualified people, so get an idea of their income, and also just make sure that they actually want it. Like, I speak to so many people, you guys would see this all the time, like they're selling something people don't want. Make sure people want it. So, you know what Andrew was talking about earlier, interview them, like, is there a problem? Is this, would you buy this? You know, if I was to give you this today, would you buy it? You know,
so as your prospecting list, so you would go income, what are the other metrics?
I'd go urgency, needs to be urgent, otherwise, you know, they're not going to do it. Do I like them? Like, guys, let's be honest here, you don't have to sell to people that you don't like. Like, if you just don't hit it off, just prospect more. Just prospect more. Like, people bend over backwards in sales to sell to people that they just genuinely don't like. Why? Oh, because you don't want to cold call, that's why. Because you're too scared to go and find other people. So don't sell to people you don't like, because if you like them, even though I'm not a fan of the nice guy stuff, it just makes it easier. Yeah. And then maybe one other thing, if I could think of it, they've got a problem that's clear, and it's now that they have it.
Thanks. Andrew, would you like to expand?
Yeah, just on the asking people questions like income, people go, well, how am I going to find out their income? So every client, if you've been my client, I'll ask you what your revenue is.
Yeah.
And I don't say like, oh, can you tell me your rev? I'm just like, what's your revenue? And then sometimes they're like, oh, well, you know, I did this. No, just, well, how many clients do you have? You know, is it kind of rough? You know, and if I feel they're tense, I'm like, it's okay if it's low. Is that like $5 grand a year or from your business? Because if you don't know, I can't help them. I can't get them to the other bit. And so I ask it like it's just a matter of fact thing, you know, because it's a factor in the process, you know, because if you know, I'm trying to say, well, what's the best solution for them that I can help them with, and I need to know which system to put them in. You know, if they've got no money and no time and no resources, it's very hard to get, you know, from point A to point B. So we've got to give them just a little bit. I go read my book. I'll send you a free copy. You know, come to a class. I'll give you a free ticket. You know, but I can't coach them because, you know, they're not resourced enough. They've got to get resourceful before they can start to do stuff.
And they'll respect you more, because if you find out that financially unqualified, go, look, we're not a fair. Really? Yeah, you're not making enough money. We can't work together. They're ethical. And now it's started, and then they're going to come back when they have money. It's the truth.
And it doesn't mean that rich people will give you the money either.
No.
Not at all. That's how they got rich, right? So it's I mean, one thing that we look at is values. If you're selling like training, education, coaching, or something like that, you're looking for people who have a high value on those things, because it means that they will spend proportional to their income. You know, I've got clients who have got tons of money and will never spend a dime on anything. Sorry, I don't have clients, I know people, because they're not clients. But if they've got a high value on education, they'll be at these sorts of things. They'll have done university degrees, they've done other courses. And so that's propensity to spend on things that you sell, if that's what you sell. You know, if you're selling, I don't know, spiritual things and things like Reiki, have they ever done anything like that before? Because if they haven't, it's very hard to convert them from a non-believer to a believer. You know, Oh yeah, I just came back from a yoga retreat. Well, they're likely to want to be interested in what you do. That's qualification.
So on that, to find out that they are going to a spiritual retreat, or if they're sort of in that income bracket, I mean, you can sort of check out their professional profile on LinkedIn, right? To sort of size up their actual job title.
Look at their Facebook and Instagram, see what they're doing. Yeah.
So one of the other qualifying points to actually build, say, a cold list to prospect or cold call, would it be using Facebook demographic information to then build that list?
No.
What do you do?
Put out an asset. Write a blog and see who responds. Put out an ebook. Put out a video, because people need to self-select. You can't tell psychographics. Psychographics is the biggest thing in sales, not demographics. You know, someone who's paying you, your fees are not, you know, I mean, proportionally not big packages potentially. So many people can afford it. So anyone over a certain income bracket can afford it, which is a lot of the population. So what you're doing is that people have a high interest in the category that you sell, and they will step forward into your material or look for groups that they're already in. Put your feelers out in the group of that interested party.
I was thinking more high ticket sort of sales.
Yeah, well, same scenario. Well, they're just the higher income bracket then.
So people that put their hands up at the start who are kicking off a business or running a business at the moment, and sales are important. Put your hand up again for me. If you put your hand up at the start to one of those questions. Cool. So the answers to those questions there are about criteria for the target market. Who here recognises that they have a challenge or a problem, perhaps, or could be doing better around sales? Cool. So you're in that target market. Nice. Who here recognises that there's an urgency around it? That if you don't take care of it, or take care of it soon, it starts to not look so great. Yep, cool. Or who has a high value on education or training and wants to learn more about it? Yeah, cool. Beautiful. So you put your hand up for one of those questions, you fit into one of the criteria that the gentleman just described there, which is beautiful. Thanks for sharing that with us, gents. Was there one more question? No? Go for it. Yes.
So I have a question about scalability, because I am not building myself a salesperson, I'm building a sales team, and to play a little bit of devil's advocate, I don't see your process being sustainable for anyone who's not fucking obsessed with it.
He's got a great point. My stuff is not for the masses.
No, and Andrew, yours is slow, and so building a sales team that is successful and have momentum is really challenging. It's only a 10-week sales cycle, and there's no momentum there.
Yeah.
There's nuance to that, and I'm not just pointing out the bad things, but I'm curious about like how you build a sales team using your processes. But I'd like you both to start your answer, because there's just not been enough blood sport debate for me tonight. I'd love to know first, before you answer my question, so as you answer, open with what you think the other person's argument or pitch was, what we know was horseshit. So open with that, and then answer my scalability question, because I'd like a little bit of blood sport.
Yeah, so look.
It's a debate.
We want broken noses. Like, let's be serious.
In all seriousness.
How about we get some debate from the audience? How about you tell us?
100%.
I
Look.
can keep going, but I'd like you to.
Yeah. So, dude, like, I'll debate that, because my whole job is to diffuse. So straight away, what did I say? I said, cold calling's bullshit, this is bullshit, that's bullshit, answers all the objections possible, so you can't say nothing about an objection that you may have against me, right? So, you know, if it's just, my argument is, if it's just inbound, you're gonna fail, right? You may do okay for a while, but eventually your ad spend's gonna run out. If you're starting out, eventually you're not gonna have another channel, okay? Bank account goes down. I've been there many times, and I've had people that have approached me around that. You need to have multiple channels, inbound, outbound, working for you if you're gonna have a successful business.
That's bullshit.
Go for it.
So, I actually don't believe that, and there's examples, but it's contextual. So I use an example in my presentations of Tesla. 0 money on marketing, no outbound sales whatsoever, right? So how do they survive? You know, and they outsold last quarter in America Mercedes-Benz. They almost beat BMW. I mean, Mercedes-Benz invented the automobile, and this new startup is selling more cars. Not just their market cap or their branding or their Facebook lives, more car sales, right? So how do they do it? And it's all brand related. It is all peer-to-peer selling, right? As in someone recommending to someone else, and someone who's in the news all the time for good or bad is there, right? You know, Elon Musk is everywhere and, you know, ever present, and the avatar for someone that they go, oh, this is the best entrepreneur in the world. So they can do it, but they've got a remarkable product. If you're selling, you know, like Colin said, if you're in, you know, recruitment and you're trying to bring up people and get recruitment jobs, that ain't the same thing. You know, that's not, there's not a lot of inbound coming that way unless you have a remarkable brand. And to be honest, I'd worked with a client in Adelaide, and pretty much every year she wins the best marketing of real estate agents in Adelaide. I mean, she did branding early on, and she has people calling her to say, can you please sell my house? She doesn't do any cold calling. And every other real estate agent get out and doing that 50 calls a day. Hey, just wondering if you want to sell your house this year, you know? And so it is possible, but she works so hard at her brand. It's just a different effort. Like, I don't like cold calling. I won't cold call. You know, I stopped at 21. I'm not going to do it. And I work with people who are not going to do it either. Because if you're going to do it, go learn from someone who's good at it. I'm not good at it, right? You know, I personally avoid it because I don't like rejection. Well, God to love me. It's true, right? That's true. And so I just found another way. And so I just work with people who like my way, you know. And does it work? Well, you know, you're all here, aren't you? You know, we run a business, we do sales, make money. Could I do it faster with cold calling? I don't know. You know, I don't think it suits my product, my model, but for other products and models, it actually does. So, you know, for instance, I mentioned DeMartini from Just on a Roll. So, DeMartini doesn't sell himself ever. He's shit at it. You know, if you've been to one of his events, if you don't know who I'm talking about, look him up. You get someone on at the end to sell him from stage, but also Jordan could sell him because he's a remarkable product. He's a unique product. You know, you can convince him of the value of that product. So that would work. You know, and pretty much anybody could use it, right? You know, because it's life-changing personal development. So would my process work too? Well, it actually does. I worked with him as well. Set up his Twitter and did a bunch of stuff way back when. So he does both. So, you know, why does Elon Musk not do advertising? Because he just doesn't like advertising. He could, but he just doesn't want to. So what do you want? You know?
Bringing up what you said about values, I think it's so important because when I'm looking to hire people for my agency, I don't want people who are scared of hard work. I'm looking for people that when I tell them I'm hard to work for, I'm going to get a report from you every hour on how many dials you've made. Like, I'm looking in their eyes and I'm trying to see either a bit of fear or they go, oh, I'm up for the challenge. Because I tell them, like, if you don't give me the report, you know, like, see ya. And they go, oh, no, that's not me. Like, I'm looking for them to try and prove me wrong. So I'm looking for their value. Do they want to go and hunt like me? If they do, great. So scalability, 100% agree with you. It's not scalable. That's why I got a business. Yeah. But I have a business because I'm doing what nobody wants to do. Problem, right?
Yeah.
100%. So that's why I look for other maniacs like me. True, right? To sell, because that's what people want. They struggle to build a sales team because there's not enough like me. It comes back to values.
And the hunter-farmer thing is a good analogy. When I was in sales, I used to do corporate sales for years and years and years, and they said there's hunters and there's farmers, and there's people who go out and get the deal, and there's people who work the deal, work the relationship, you know. And I don't think it actually is that much slower to do the way I do it. In terms, it depends on the product, right? It depends how hard you work. You know, it depends how much effort you put in. So, sorry, there's another question.
I'll put to you, Jordan, that your process wouldn't work. I'm a financial advisor. You wouldn't work, or your process would not work with my type of industry. There's no way I can ring the same person 30 times to say, yeah, I want you to be a client of mine.
Well, you're not going to say that, that's for sure. No, my process 100% wouldn't work for that. But it would work if you had a framework. Okay? So I'm not going to call asking for someone to be a client. Never call because of that. I call because I got a case study. I call because we just found something. I call because I just worked with a competitor. I call for something, but I never, ever, ever say to them, become a client. Like some.
I realise that, but wouldn't your credibility then be shot to the degree where you're persistently harassing?
No. I get paid like that.
Yeah, but that's, you're a salesperson. If you're the key person of influence, you're saying, does it ruin your credibility to sell?
No. So I'll give you an example. I was selling to kids. I was selling to families. I was meant to be this nice sports coach that was really nice with children and nice with families. So I'm cold calling schools all day, following up, harassing them. Didn't ruin it. They loved me. But here's the thing. I made a podcast about this. Most people hate pushiness because their pushiness is ugly. My pushiness is beautiful. When I push, people don't know. People don't know they're being pushed.
They do when you're dialing them 30 times in a week.
Yeah, but when they pick up the phone, it's different.
I know.
So look, that's just my answer.
Quick question. So it's probably pretty easy to sell something that everyone wants, you know, beauty or, I don't know, luxury products or whatever it is. What if you're selling something that no one really wants? Like no one really wants to die, so you don't want funeral products. We are conflict resolution experts, so we work in conflict resolution with corporate clients. No one wants workplace conflict. We're selling constantly a product, mediation, facilitation, you know, training, etc., that no one really wants because no one really wants conflict. Yeah?
I know we could both jump in on that. The first thing in sales is you're not selling a product.
Yeah.
You can't sell the product because no one wants your product. No one wants your product. They want an outcome and they want a solution to a problem. Now,